Welcome back to the beginner's course for consultants. So in the previous lesson I explained how to find your clients by using your contacts and then contacts of those your contacts, also how to outreach directly to potential customers, and that approach is great for a short term. However, over a long term, you'll find out that approach is very labor intensive, very expensive, and that it is very hard to scale. So in today's lesson, I'll explain you how to bring leads consistently over the years without investing such a big effort, and that you can do actually by building your personal brand as an expert. So in this lesson today, you'll learn how to define your expert identity. What are some basics of building a professional website LinkedIn profile, and what are some advanced approaches, what is usually called content marketing, and then what is even more advanced approach, and this is usually called thought leadership or building thought leadership. So after you watch this video, you'll have a clear idea on how to get the leads without actually the need to contact them directly. So what does this personal branding actually mean in reality for consultants? This basically means that your potential clients recognize you by your name and that they know exactly what is your expertise and why you are better than competitors. And that helps you directly by, as I mentioned, that you're not going to need to reach out to all of these potential customers, rather that customers actually reach out to you. Also, this means that you will convert these leads into customers much more easily because they trust you upfront, and that you will ultimately be able to grow your consultancy much more quickly and without a huge investment in sales and marketing. And before you start building your brand as an expert, first you have to define your expert identity. And this means that you have to choose your market niche and your specialization within this niche. And this is something that I explained already in one of my previous lessons in this course. This also means that you have to clearly differentiate versus your competitors and create your unique selling proposition or USP. And this is also what I explained in this same lesson. And this also means that you have to understand very well your audience needs. So you need to understand perfectly well what are their pains and what they try to resolve, and how you can actually help them with that. And once you have all of these three things together, then you can start building your brand as an expert. Okay, so let's start with the basics. So you need to have a very good website. Now, you do not need a website that is too big, but you do need a couple of key pages on this website. So besides the home page, you also need a page, something like About Us, where you will describe at least yourself or also your team if you have more consultants in your company. And this is where you actually have to explain your expertise, your unique selling proposition, and other things. And then you should also have one page, of course, where you explain what is your offering and how your offering is specific and different from your competitors. And another page where you will show your references, so where you will show which customers you have, and probably the most important of all is to show testimonials from these customers. Of course, if you are just starting with a business, then you're not going to have these customers, but make sure that once you get your first customer, that you actually create this page and start putting those customers out there. Of course, you can also add a page for your blog posts, for your webinars and other things, and this is what I'll explain in a minute. Okay, and the next key thing that you have to do is your LinkedIn profile, because most of potential customers will want to take a look at your LinkedIn profile, and if they see that you do not have a LinkedIn profile or that it looks very bad, then you're drastically decreasing your chances of building yourself as an expert. And LinkedIn does have some kind of a template which guides you on what you have to fill out, and try to fill out all of these elements that are suggested by LinkedIn. This is probably the best way to do it. Now, if I can pick one element that is the most important after showing your references, this is probably your photo. So you need to have a high quality photo both on your website and on your LinkedIn profile. And for that purpose, you should probably go to a professional photographer so that you have a high quality photo to show there. Okay, let's now go for more advanced techniques of building your personal brand, you should write articles for some professional journals or magazines. So for example, if you are a 14001 expert, then find some journals about environmental management or protection and publish some articles there. You should also publish blog posts on your own website where you focus on certain topics that are within your expertise and through which, of course, you will show your in-depth expertise. So, for example, I'm publishing various articles on ISO 27001, NIS 2 and DORA, and I focus usually on topics on how to implement these frameworks, how to train employees, and so on. Going a step further, you can also develop some white papers or other free downloads that you can offer for your clients to download them, but you should do it in such a way that they have to register with their email address, so that you are starting actually to collect a database of email addresses so that you can use them for email marketing, so for notifying them about news from your company. Once you have a big enough email list, then you can start publishing webinars on your website and inviting these people to your webinars, because people usually like this kind of an online seminar where you explain certain things and they can ask you in real time some questions where you answer them. And this is also a very good way of converting leads into customers. Now, if you do not have a big enough email list, then you can also be a presenter at other webinars for some other companies where you have some kind of a partnership with. Also, you should participate in some kind of online forums which are specific for a particular industry or a particular standard. For example, there is a very good forum on Google Groups for ISO 27001. Very good in-depth discussions and so on. But there are also other platforms like Reddit or Quora where you should also participate, because in that way you also show your expertise. Finally, delivering courses is an excellent way actually to show your expertise, because if you're capable of creating a full course, this means that you know actually your stuff very, very well. So for example, if you are an AI consultant, you can create a course for ISO 42001 and publish it on Udemy or some other platforms, and also in that way build your status as an expert. Now, as you're building all of these content marketing methods that I mentioned, I think there are two important things around them. First of all is that each of them has some kind of a call to action. So for example, if you're writing a blog post about ISO 27001 risk management, then you should mention to readers that if they want to learn more how you can actually help them with risk management, that they schedule a call with you. Or if you're doing an online course, then you can direct them to your profile where they will find your LinkedIn, your email address or some other contact information so that they can contact you for some further cooperation. And the second thing is that you publish all of these materials that I mentioned also on your social media. So if you're active on LinkedIn or Twitter, post all of these blog posts, webinars, courses and other things there, because this is the way for you to actually strategically share some insights which your audience will appreciate, because this is how you actually educate them and build trust with them. Now, if you want to push this concept of building your personal brand even further, then you need to go into this area of thought leadership. And there are a couple of ways to do it. First of all, you should become a guest speaker at various podcasts. So, for example, if you are an ISO 9001 consultant, then you should take a look at various podcasts that deal either with quality management or with your particular industry, and then reach out to them and offer that you would like to be a guest speaker. Of course, you have to emphasize why they would choose you. So basically what actually your specific expertise is. You could also speak at conferences. So you should take a look at where your audience is going, at which conferences, and then sign up at those conferences as a speaker. Again, you have to pitch your specific expertise for that target audience to conferences organizers so that they will invite you really to become a speaker. You can also start building your YouTube channel where you will show your expertise by recording a series of videos on your particular areas. So for example, in my YouTube profile, I focus on NIS 2, DORA, ISO 27001, but also on consultants and AI, because I want to build my brand in terms of these areas. And by the way, in the advanced course for consultants, there is actually a lesson where I explain how to build your YouTube channel, so you can take a look at this advanced course. You can also start your own podcast. For example, consultants are a very important audience for me, so I started this Secure and Simple podcast where I interview various successful consultants so that other consultants can learn from them. Finally, you can also write a book or a couple of books on your particular topics, because potential customers typically perceive that if someone has written a book on a particular topic, then they are an ultimate expert on this area. And not only this, when they search your name through Google, these Amazon books will be one of the first things that they will see next to your name. And the thing is about all of these techniques for thought leadership is that you're actually pushing something completely new, something that is different, something that no one else has published. So this is actually how you build this leadership, because you're the first there to explain that. Therefore, potential customers start to perceive you as the #1 expert for that area. Okay, I hope this was helpful, and let me know in the comments below if you have any questions about how to build your brand as an expert, and I'll answer as soon as I can. And here are a couple of materials that will help you learn more about this topic. So first, you have this advanced course for consultants that presents some more advanced techniques on how to succeed. So as I mentioned, there is a lesson around how to build your YouTube profile, but so there is another lesson on how to build your LinkedIn profile and so on. Second, there is this also Secure and Simple podcast that I mentioned. And actually, when you open this podcast, you will see that several of these consultants that are successful, they speak about their techniques that they use to actually build their thought leadership and various content marketing techniques. You'll also see a couple of links for Advisera's webinars and Advisera's free downloads, just for you to get a feeling on what kind of materials you can build for your consultancy. And in the next lesson of this course, I'll present what are the techniques of presenting your consulting services to potential customers, and what are the most important things to convert this lead into a paying customer. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and you can also subscribe to my YouTube channel not to miss any of my new videos, and I publish videos about cybersecurity and compliance every week. Thanks for watching.